Well, hey everyone, my name's George and I'd love to chat to you this morning about the dangers of comparing ourselves with other people. You're slap bang in the middle of a series right now called The Theif of Everything, aren't you? But what's that about? It's the one thing that all of us have the potential to get caught up in, isn't it? Comparison. It's when we compare something about ourselves against something about someone else. One of the interesting things about jealousy is that I've never heard a young person say, you know what, I struggle with jealousy. I feel jealous toward my best friend or that random girl on Instagram or that guy in my class who's better than me. I'm not going to try and convince you that you have a jealousy issue. Instead, I'm just going to share a quick personal story. When I was at school, I hung around with 3 other girls and one of them just seemed to be better at me than everything. She got higher grades than me, seemed more popular than me and had better hair than me. She was super confident and didn't get shy or go bright red like I did when someone talked to me. She always had all the latest makeup and toiletries and always had the latest trendy new outfits, and I just wished I was like her. The problem was, after a little while, I found myself feeling some negative things toward her. Things like resentment, frustration, sadness, inferiority. And I would never have been able to identify it then, but that was good old-fashioned jealousy right there. Total raging envy. And when it came to how I was feeling, she was better and I was less than. Was my problem with her? Not really. What if the roles were reversed and I was her and she was me? I would have had no problem with that then. I mean, we were practically best friends. My problem was that she had something that I wanted. And you know what? Forget that. The real problem was my heart. All of a sudden I was completely frustrated with a friend who had done nothing wrong to me, had no ill intention toward me, and had no clue I was even upset with her. Maybe you've been there. Maybe it was that moment when you saw their post on Instagram and they looked incredible. Or you realised that they were outshining you in some way at school or college or on the sports team that you play on. Or maybe you saw their new car. Or you hung out at their house with their seemingly perfect family. Again, if the roles were reversed and everything that they had or everything that happened to them happened to you, you'd be totally fine with them, wouldn't you? But they have what you want, so you're not fine with them, not even a little bit. Let's take it even one step further, shall we? We'd never admit this, but we'd actually find some sort of pleasure deep down in seeing them fail or struggle, wouldn't we? Come on, be honest. They have no clue that we'd enjoy seeing them slip up, look worse than us, perform worse than us, but we would. If she broke out in acne or he had a terrible footy game, we'd secretly celebrate. That is awful, right? Talk about the thief of everything. Well, I think we've all been there, all of us. This struggle starts at birth and it ends at death. Babies deal with this and so do grandparents, and jealousy and competition affect all ages. The problems with jealousy are endless, but I'm going to highlight just one. And this is it. It steals your ability to live your own life. When you're jealous of someone else, you get focused on them and you quit appreciating and enjoying and seeing and experiencing or embracing any part of your own life. I don't know one person who's super focused on someone else's life who is happy with their own. Jealousy can consume you and make you super competitive with people you have no business competing with, and it's exhausting. So let's figure out a way to stop living someone else's life and start living the one God has given us. People have been dealing with jealousy forever. The authors of the Bible share story after story of people whose lives were affected by it. One of these people was a guy called David, and he was an unknown shepherd who rose to unexpected influence and power and became one of the most famous kings of all time. In between his time as shepherd and king, David worked for a king named Saul. And Saul was tall and strong and powerful, and he was an incredible warrior. He was a respected king. The people loved him, and he had it all. And after David killed an enemy giant named Goliath, Saul obviously promoted David. Any king on earth would have been thrilled to have a guy like David in their army. But listen to what a writer named Samuel said in the Bible about David in the Old Testament. Whatever mission Saul sent him on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the troops and Saul's officers as well. This is a good thing, right? David is smashing it. Everyone is happy until they weren't. This is what it says next in the Bible. When David was returning home after he had killed Goliath, the women started singing his praises, saying, Saul has slain his thousands and David his tens of thousands. This made Saul really angry, really upset. Who loves it when the other person wins and gets more and wins more and outshines us, etc.? Then he writes this, and from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. He got consumed with someone else's life and the wheels fell off. Saul's life spiraled out of control. He quit living. He lost perspective of all the great things he already had. Why? Well, like we already said, that's what jealousy does. It gets you all wrapped up in the other person. And what do you miss? For starters, you miss all the good things that God has already blessed you with. Believe it or not, you do have some good things happening around you. You just haven't learned to recognise those things because you've been too consumed with what the other person has. You may not have as much stuff as you want, but you still have a lot. You may not have as many friends as someone else, but you still have friends. You may not be as talented as someone else, but you still are very talented. You can look at other people and what they have, or you can learn to appreciate what you have. King Saul had so much going for him. He had so many things to be grateful for. In fact, David would have done nothing but celebrate Saul and his kingdom and all that it had and its thriving, but Saul became consumed with jealousy toward David that he lost perspective on the blessings in his own life. It was the thief of everything. In another place in the Bible called Proverbs, just after Psalms, the writer explains jealousy this way: a heart at peace gives life to the body, but jealousy and envy rots the bones. Jealousy rots us from the core, from the inside out. That's what happened to Saul. It ate up everything in his life. It was the thief of everything, but David kept his heart at peace and it gave him life. You see, while jealousy breaks down, peace builds up. David kept his eyes on the good thing that was promised him, and that helped him stay strong. The same can be true for us. When we keep our eyes focused on what we have, we'll find more peace. When we stop focusing on what others have, we'll be better able to enjoy the good in our life and theirs. Think of it this way: celebrating is better than comparing. It's such a better way to live, more peaceful, joyful and life-giving. In fact, celebration is so powerful that it's the one thing that can kill jealousy. But how do we choose to celebrate instead of comparing? Let's start by doing two things. Number one, start with you. Think about what you do have that's worth celebrating, whether it's a friendship or something about your family, a good grade, a beautiful day, or just the fact that God loves you. There is something you have that is worth a celebration. Big or small, start breaking free from jealousy by celebrating the good things in your own life. Number two, celebrate someone else. I want you to try and find a way to celebrate a person you're jealous of. Yes, that's right. It's not going to be easy. But remember, celebration will help you move forward in peace and bring it to your body and your mind. And if you can do that and pray for them, it is one of the best things you can practice every day. It helps to get you to a place where you can celebrate and appreciate someone else. Imagine if Saul had celebrated David instead of being jealous. How much better and happier would his life have been? Instead, Saul tried to take David's life and ended up losing his own. Dramatic, right? But all of that happened because jealousy was the thief of everything. You and I have the same choice. We can waste our time and energy focused on other people's lives and what they have, or we can learn to be grateful for what we have. Celebrating is better than comparing, and by the grace of God, we can put an end to jealousy, start focusing on the blessings God has given us, and live our own lives with more joy. So here's a question I'd like you to think about this week. Who is one person you can choose to celebrate?